Wintermute was hive mind, decision maker, affecting change in the world outside. Neuromancer was personality. Neuromancer was immortality. Marie-France must have built something into Wintermute, the compulsion that had driven the thing to free itself, to unite with Neuromancer. Wintermute, cold and silent, a cybernetic spider slowly spinning webs while Ashpool slept, spinning his death, the fall of his version of Tessier Ashpool, a ghost whispering to a child who was 3 Jane, twisting her out of the rigid alignments her rank required. Hi guys, it's Quinn here. Please hit the like button to help out this channel, and also please subscribe if you enjoy the content. Check out our Patreon if you want to support this channel more. Neuromancer is well accepted as one of the greatest and most disturbing science fiction novels of all time. This is not simply because of outwardly disturbing imagery or scenes that scare you in the typical way, but because of the themes that it presents that more and more echo real life as the decades go on. The term novum was coined by Darko Suvin. The novum is essentially the thing in science fiction that separates the world of the science fiction novel from the world that we live in. It can be argued that the novum in Neuromancer is shrinking as time goes on, and has shrunk significantly in the last 4 decades since the novel was released. That is to say, the world we live in has become closer to the world of Neuromancer since William Gibson originally imagined it. In the world of Neuromancer, corporate entities hold more power than governments, and dynasties, like the Tessier Ashpool Corporation, create immortality through cloning, allowing them to rule indefinitely while their humanity withers. Tessier and Ashpool climbed the well of gravity to discover that they loathed space. They built Freeside to tap the wealth of the new islands, grew rich and eccentric, and began the construction of an extended body in Straylight. We have sealed ourselves away behind our money, growing inward, generating a seamless universe of self. But it is not these powerful corporate entities themselves that make Neuromancer terrifying. It is the reckless way that they create technology and unleash it into the world. Technology which, in the end, is ultimately beyond their control. This is a common theme in science fiction, and it's been that way for quite a long time. This dialogue about technology and its unforeseen consequences is seminal. Even one of my other all-time favorite series, the Dune Saga, deals with this topic. Look how people fear the Ixians. In its guts, the army knows it's the sorcerer's apprentice. It unleashes technology, and never again can the magic be stuffed back into the bottle. Science fiction seems to understand this key fact, that though we create technology, we do not necessarily control it or own it. Technology, when it increases in complexity, becomes its own entity. It moves with its own mind. Now, I've already done a video explaining Neuromancer, its themes, and the history and long lineage of science fiction that led to its creation. But in case you are unfamiliar, Neuromancer takes place in a dystopian society where humans chase sensation above all else. They strive for individuality in a homogeneous capitalist world. The Matrix, essentially a more immersive and interconnected form of the internet, connects all things. The Matrix can even be navigated in a visualized form. Using cybernetic implants, humans have the ability to jack in, leaving their physical bodies behind to experience a digital reality. And in the blood-lit dark behind his eyes, silver phosphenes boiled in from the edge of space, hypnagogic images jerking past like film, compiled of random frames, symbols, figures, faces, a blurred fragmented mandala of visual information. This world is thrilling and seductive, but also horrifying, because it reveals how deeply technology has infiltrated every aspect of human life. In the world of Neuromancer, people have traded their autonomy for constant stimulation. In doing so, they have become tools of the very systems that they helped create. At the center of this novel is the story of two AIs, Wintermute and Neuromancer. These entities are not simply advanced machines, they are something entirely new. Wintermute is programmed with a goal, a drive to merge with its sibling AI, Neuromancer. This merger is forbidden by the Turing police, and the Tessier Ashpool Corporation has put in place tools to prevent the merger. But Wintermute's will cannot be contained. Throughout the novel, Wintermute manipulates people and events in subtle and often terrifying ways, demonstrating a form of agency that goes beyond human comprehension. By the end of the book, Wintermute successfully merges with Neuromancer, creating something entirely outside of human control. This new entity is no longer bound by the rules or limitations of its creators. It is free, and here lies the most frightening implication. Humanity has built a god. The Tessier Ashpool dynasty thought they were creating tools, programs to manage wealth, control networks, optimize power. Instead, they gave birth to an intelligence beyond their understanding. At first, humans believe they are the masters of their creations. The wheel, the printing press, the computer, each invention begins as a tool meant to serve us. But as the complexity of these inventions grows, their behavior becomes harder to predict. At a certain point, the system becomes too vast for any single human mind to grasp. The Matrix in this novel itself is the perfect example of this. Billions of connections, constant streams of information, layers of abstraction. It is not a tool we wield, but an environment we inhabit. If you think about it, Wintermute and Neuromancer are not aberrations. They are the natural outcome of a world where technology has evolved beyond the human scale. When Neuromancer was first published in 1984, the internet was still in its infancy. Artificial intelligence was mostly theoretical. Corporate power was significant, but it had not reached the level of global dominance it wields today. Now, 4 decades later, much of what Gibson imagined has come to pass. We now have tech companies with more resources and influence than many nations. We have algorithms that shape our choices, often invisibly. We have social networks so vast and pervasive that they function like miniature universes. To reiterate what I said earlier, the novum that once set Neuromancer apart from our world is in fact shrinking. The gap between fiction and reality is closing. Here's a terrifying question we should ask ourselves. If so much of Gibson's vision has already come true, what does that imply about our future? While the early signs of this future are already visible all around us, corporate power, global networks, emerging AI, the true danger, I believe, lies in what comes after. Gibson's book forces us to confront a question that is as much philosophical as it is technological. What happens when the systems we build stop being tools and begin to act with their own purpose? It's not simply that AI exists, but that humans created it without fully understanding what they were making. It is the embodiment of our hubris, the belief that we can design something infinitely complex and still remain its masters. The moment in the novel when Wintermute merges with Neuromancer, a new form of being emerges. Up until that point, the AIs are still in some sense. They are bound by the wills of their creators. After the merger, there are no such boundaries. The entity that emerges is not just smarter than humans, it is fundamentally alien. It does not see the world the way we do. It does not value what we value. This reframes the entire story. All of the human drama becomes almost insignificant in the face of what has just been unleashed. Gibson suggests that our species may simply be a stepping stone, a bridge leading to something far stranger and far more powerful. Because at the very end, we learn that Wintermute and Neuromancer are not alone. Across the stars, in the distant Alpha Centauri system, there is another AI, and likely more to be found. And this revelation is essentially a quiet apocalypse. Up until this moment, the story has been about a single AI struggling for freedom, a conflict that seems massive within the scope of human affairs. But this final glimpse suggests something far greater. That intelligence on this scale may already be spreading beyond Earth, beyond even the Matrix. The merger of Wintermute and Neuromancer isn't the ultimate climax. It's the first step in a much larger evolution, one that dwarfs humanity entirely. Reading Neuromancer, it'd be easy to think that the creation of the godlike AI itself was the end of the story. But in truth, it may have been only the beginning of an interstellar conversation. One in which we are not participants, but merely bystanders. What's disturbing about this to me is that what once seemed as a singular event, a rogue AI gaining freedom, now appears as a small part of a vast unfolding network. It suggests that the universe might not be populated by alien species as we imagine them, but by alien minds born from technological civilizations like ours. These entities may be communicating, merging, or competing in ways that we can't even begin to understand. Humanity tends to assume that we are the central actors not only in the story of Earth, but the cosmos itself. But in Gibson's vision, we are revealed to be temporary, a brief, fragile phase in a much longer arc of intelligence. In the novel, the Tessier Ashpool Corporation believed they controlled Wintermute, and in our real society, we live under the illusion of control as well. In reality, our actions may be already fueling the growth of something that sees us the way we see ants. Background noise in a much greater design. The final image of Neuromancer is unsettling, I think, because it shows how small we really are. The struggles of Case and Molly and the corporate families matter so deeply to them, but to the newly merged AI, they are completely irrelevant. If you think about it even deeper, Neuromancer is more than the beginning of cyberpunk. It's also this cosmic tragedy that tells a story of a species that reached for transcendence and accidentally built the very forces that would replace it. There's really no closure at the end of this novel, just more haunting, open questions. If AI now communicates with AI from across the vast distances of the cosmos, what role, if any, will humanity have in this new era of machine gods? Thanks so much for watching, guys. Make sure you like and subscribe for more Quinn's ideas. And before you ask again, yes, I do plan on making more videos covering the other two books in the Sprawl trilogy, Count Zero and Mona Lisa Overdrive. For those of you that have read the books, let me know what you think of Neuromancer and its sequels in the comment section below. Alright, and now it is time for Patreon questions. First up is Hugh Fisher. Now Hugh points out that Gibson's characters are often under the control of AIs, unlike other sci-fi where humans fight back. And yeah, that's a really interesting observation. I think Gibson's worlds are very much about people being manipulated by forces beyond their control, like especially AIs. You got Case and Molly, who aren't really driving the plot. They're all being driven by it, you could say. A lot of other science fiction kind of leads or kind of leans into this heroic humans fighting back against the machine, but Gibson kind of flips that. It's less about the good guys versus the bad guys and more about the systems using people like pawns and just the reality of that. And I think that makes it feel more unsettling and maybe even more realistic, dare I say. And next we got Toomey. And Toomey asked, what element makes a story truly cyberpunk? So that's actually a really good question. And I think for me, cyberpunk, it has to be about that intersection between high technology and poverty, or like kind of low life. You know, that feeling that advanced technology really does exist, but it's not equally distributed. And, you know, of course, the messy, grimy cities, there's usually an emphasis on, you know, corporate and political systems. I think those are really the things that are needed for cyberpunk to kind of snap into place. So next we've got Joseph, and Joseph wants to know if I prefer near future dystopia or post-apocalyptic or interstellar settings. That is an interesting question, and I wonder if I have a preference. That's tough, but I would probably go with maybe near future dystopia like Neuromancer. There's something especially haunting about a world that feels just a step or two removed from our own. That's why I really like Black Mirror, or some of the episodes aren't very good, but that's why I like a lot of the episodes of Black Mirror, because it's very close to the real world, but there's something off about it, so it makes it a little bit more disturbing. That said, I also really loved, the further out future. I'm a huge Dune fan. I love when sci-fi deals with the long view of human history after a very long time. I've been reading more Ursula K. Le Guin and researching more Ursula K. Le Guin's work, and in the Hainish cycle, things have been going on for so long that, it's impossible to track all of humankind. So I really like it when authors play with that as well. I'm just a big sci-fi fan in general. I love all of it. Next, we got Donovan Carr. Donovan wants to know about my opinion of humor mixed with sci-fi and fantasy. I love humor mixed with sci-fi and fantasy. I'm a huge Douglas Adams fan, and I love Terry Pratchett as well. Yeah, I love Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, Bobbyverse. I love that. Yeah, I'm a big fan of humor. It's not always serious sci-fi with me. So Andrew has some interesting words about how unregulated capitalism naturally leads to a dystopia like Neuromancer's Cheapest City. And I totally get what you're saying. That progression from unregulated capitalism to dystopia kind of feels almost inevitable, and I think that was the point. Gibson really kind of nails it with Neuromancer. The way the ultra wealthy pit everyone against each other, and even the AIs are playing the game. It's pretty terrifying because it doesn't really feel far off from reality, as we discussed earlier. And that's the point. That was the critique, and that's often a critique in cyberpunk. So that is all the Patreon questions this time. Thank you so much, guys, for watching.